And Mike joins us right now on the Mattress Warehouse Hotline. What's up, Mike?
Hey, how's it going?
What's up, Mike?
What's up, Mikey?
Doing all right. I was looking at your recent tweets, and you were talking about the Bucs offense and that it's never going to be what it's cracked up to be unless they really change the offense. What did you mean by that?
Well, I'm not sure it's what it's cracked up to be. It's never going to be like the Seahawks or the Chiefs or the Packers, these other elite teams around the NFL that are putting up well over 30 points a game. Until they trust Tom Brady to score points for them, they're still leaning on that run game far too much. And you look at those teams like the Seahawks, like the Chiefs, they're putting the ball in the hands of their best player and asking them to go win them games. They're passing more on first down than any other teams in the NFL. And if you've seen the Bucs run game at all this year, it's awful. When they're handing it off on first down, which they do half the time, they're basically just putting Tom Brady behind the eight ball and putting him in unfavorable situations, whereas teams like the juggernaut offenses out there are not doing that nearly as much nowadays.
But Ronald Jones is fourth in the league in rushing. I mean, it can't be that
Yeah,
bad.
but they have the third worst success rate on first down runs of any team in the NFL this year.
Right,
so
right.
They're really that's just kind of going to put you in unsuccessful situations. They have a lot of big plays in the run game, and that 98-yard run he had a few weeks ago is a big reason why he's so high in the league in rushing. But they're just not consistently effective, and that's not leading to big drives or big. It's not conducive to point scoring drives.
Yeah. I don't know, but you're right. He's got so many weapons. I mean, a couple of those guys he just added. And I don't know if that was just Brady himself going to Arians and the GM going, hey, we could use Fournette, we could use Brown. But, he's got – Godwin's legit. Evans is obviously legit. Gronk is getting better each week. I just don't understand why there's not a better balance there.
That's the thing. You have the players and the pieces around him that he can get the ball out of his hands quickly. You're not worried about Tom Brady taking a lot of shots. They have one of the better offensive lines in the NFL. Like, you shouldn't be worried about him, not being able to protect himself. And with as many weapons as they have, that passing game is just going to be so much more explosive than anything you can do in the running game that there's really no reason to take the ball out of his hands as much as they have.
How does Pro Football Focus? It looks like they have Alex Smith ranked 29th. And here's the thing. He has, believe it or not, he's brought some stability to the position. And it's been a bit of an upgrade, and yet you have him ranked 29th. What do you see? For me, I see a guy who, he makes the easy throws for the most part, but a guy that's not mobile at all, but somehow he's finding a way to make it work.
Yeah, I think that's it. Your perception gets skewed when you're throwing Dwayne Haskins and Kyle Allen at a quarterback who are the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. Anything is an upgrade at that point. So, yes, he's been better, but really still not a downfield passer. Like you said, not mobile whatsoever, but he can execute the offense, and I think that's the biggest thing and the biggest difference, and it's not a high bar to clear in the NFC East to look like a good team there right now.
And
right.
That offense right now is being centered around Antonio Gibson. We saw his breakout against Dallas with the 3 end zone trips. Talk about what you've seen with him, like gathering steam over the last month, becoming more the focal point of the offense.
I mean, he's a monster. He was the most physically gifted running back in this draft class. Was when he played at Memphis the most productive on a per-touch basis. But he only touched the ball, 77 times his entire college career? We just didn't know what it was going to look like. Everything was there, and I think they may legitimately have gotten the best running back from this draft class just because no one else was kind of willing to take that shot any higher because of how infrequently we saw him at Memphis. But, yeah, I think they got a special player there in the rookie. There's no doubt about it. He's looked like I said, the best running back in the NFL, the best rookie running back in the NFL so far.
So do you think the Chiefs overshot on Edwards-Helaire? I mean, we've seen some good performances, but some spotty performances as well. Or is he just a victim of the Chiefs have so many pieces in that offense that Mahomes can go to that he goes overlooked sometimes?
Yeah, they 100%, in my opinion, overshot it. He's really not his biggest selling point with what he can do in the passing game, but they just have too many weapons in Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, who can win 20, 30 yards down the field instead of 5 yards down the field. That I don't think he's really done anything to make that offense any better this year. So yeah, I think they could have gone elsewhere. They could have used some help defensively, that Chiefs roster, instead of going at running back. And especially when you draft a running back who right now probably looks like not even one of the top 3 rookie running backs in the class.
Mm-hmm. Talking to Mike Renner from Pro Football Focus, he's their lead draft analyst. Obviously everybody's hyping up DK Metcalf, but I saw you break down A.J. Brown.
So good.
He doesn't get talked about as much, but that guy's a physical freak too.
So good.
Yeah, I think he kind of got swept under the rug in that draft class. I don't know why. He was putting up 1,300 yards in the SEC as a sophomore there at Ole Miss, was far more productive than DK Metcalf in that same offense. Fell to the second round for, like I said, I don't really know why. Few receivers come out that look like him at 225 pounds that run, a 4.5 and have the change of direction ability and explosiveness that he does. So, yeah, he looks like that whole draft class was utterly loaded with receiver talent, and a lot of teams passed on it. But A.J. Brown looks like he could be the best or the most complete of that bunch, at least the guy I want with the ball in his hands the most, because he is a freak after the catch.
And his teammate, Derrick Henry, I'm taking this from Pro Football Focus. He leads all running backs with 1,792 rushing yards in the last calendar year. That's 593 yards over all other running backs in the same span. And this is his time of the year. We saw what he did against the Colts this past weekend. 27 carries, almost 180 yards, 3 end zone trips, 6.6 yards per carry. And the Titans' schedule upcoming, it's loaded with cupcakes. So I would think you're going to see more of this Derrick Henry workload going forward.
Yeah, so just how he gets stronger, as games goes on and the season goes on. I think he's getting stronger as his career goes on, too, somehow, which doesn't usually happen for NFL running backs. He's got almost 1,000 yards after contact this year. He was billed as a physical freak coming out of Alabama. I think we're kind of realizing how special he is. He really is in that upper echelon of the Adrian Petersons of the world, of just guys who are built differently, and it doesn't really matter what the blocking looks like for them up front. They're still going to produce.
So when we talk about the draft, there's going to be 4, maybe 5 teams that are probably looking for quarterbacks in the first round. Now, I'm not sure if 5 guys will go, but obviously Lawrence will go 1 to the Jets. Who knows who's going to have the second pick? It could be Jacksonville. And, the names that are being kind of thrown around there are Fields and Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, who I've seen play one time. And
Trey Lance is terrible. I evaluated him. He's terrible.
And I don't think people give Kyle Trask enough credit. He's the leader right now for the Heisman. He's the Heisman favorite. He's got 34 touchdowns and 3 picks in the SEC. He had a good year last year. So he's playing teams like Georgia and South Carolina and LSU and Florida. And Zach Wilson, now he's playing great this year. He's got great numbers, but he plays absolutely no one. I think someone has to factor in who you play and how good the defenses are, because Trask is playing against NFL defenders. And Zach Wilson's probably playing against 0. And last year when Wilson played a semi-decent schedule, he was just okay. Now maybe he got better, and he is faster than Trask. He's got a stronger arm than Trask. But I think you have to factor in who you play every Saturday. I just do.
Yeah, that definitely matters. And the fact that Trask was in his very first year of starting, didn't even start in high school, didn't start in college until last year at Florida. It was in his very first year. And then, once he's kind of comfortable in that offense, once he gets his feet underneath him, it's just falling out of his mind. And, putting up the best numbers maybe any quarterback in the country this year, that has to factor in. But at the same time, you got to evaluate. You can still evaluate where the throw is supposed to go and where he wanted it to go. And I don't think anyone's been better at that than Zach Wilson this year. Yes, he's had, very good offensive line at BYU, not been under a lot of pressure. And like you said, is playing easier defenses. But like the things you mentioned there, he's more mobile. He has a better arm. He can throw better on the move, which I think is the biggest knock on Trask right now, is that he is kind of a stationary play from the pocket. If anything breaks down, he's not going to be making those, Patrick Mahomes-esque second chance plays, whereas we've seen that from Zach Wilson a bunch. So I think that's the biggest thing right now. But I'm with you that I think Kyle Trask is really playing his way into the first round. I would be surprised if he doesn't end up there.
But you think Zach definitely goes ahead of Trask. I'm not saying Trask should go. I don't think Trask should go top 5, no doubt. But you still think Zach goes ahead of Trask?
I do. I think he's younger. He is younger. He's only a junior. He had the shoulder issues in 2019, which is why he didn't play as well and was hurt throughout a lot of that year. comes back this year, and it's just really no blip on the radar whatsoever. And competition level is a thing, but we've seen, talent still matters a lot. Josh Allen played nobody at Wyoming, and when he did play somebody, he fell apart and has turned it around here early in the NFL. You still have to have those tools and that ability to mold once you get to the league.
It's going to be really interesting to see how all these guys do, even the Trevor Lawrences of the world, because, Sam Darnold was obviously hyped up in college. Now, Trevor's a better college player than him. He's a better quarterback. But you go to New York, you never know. I mean, the team that drafts you could screw you up. Justin Fields, who knows where he's going to go. But, I mean, there's just such a big leap when you go from college to the pros. Lawrence is probably a can't misser, but you just don't know depending on who drafts him.
Yeah, I think we've seen at the NFL level so much of maybe not how you play yourself, but how an offense performs or how your numbers look. And kind of what I just touched on with Brady at the beginning here is what the play caller is, who you have around you, the talent, what your offensive line looks like. That changes a lot of what your perception will be at the NFL level and how good people think you are. So, yes, Trevor Lawrence, if he goes for the Jets, they don't have a lot right now. It might not be great early in his career. You have to surround these guys with as much talent as possible. It's not just, we have him, now we're good, and we're set offensively.
What are you seeing in Trey Lance? Because we do a little funny bit here where I just evaluated a guy during a commercial break. And so I did one of his YouTube videos, every throw. Maybe it was the one game he played this year where he was inaccurate because he was so inaccurate. I was like, this guy stinks. He's unbelievable with the ball in his hands running. That guy's a freak. But as far as throwing, okay, he's got a strong arm, but I don't know, maybe his 2019 was totally different, but he looked wildly inaccurate in the one game I saw.
Yeah, to me, he's like a Taysom Hill that with a cannon, with just a lot stronger arm at this point. And he's definitely has some accuracy issues, level competition. There's not much you can discern when watching the defenses he's playing. But he really is, in terms of as a rushing threat, would probably step into the NFL and be the third best at the position behind, Kyler Murray and Lamar Jackson. And that has a lot of value. We've seen that with both those guys, both those offenses. You kind of have a high floor when you're that dynamic as a runner and basically just another running back in the backfield. And so I think that gives you just a good starting point, and teams are going to be willing to take the chance on that, especially when he can throw it probably 75 yards the way he can with his arm. And it just expands the football field and makes life easier on you when you do have that combination of rushing ability and then a strong arm. So there's a lot you can do with him. I do think he's comfortably behind those top three at this point just because he's so raw comparatively. All those other guys can operate an offense and throw already fairly accurately. Trey Lance is really a wild card and is going to have to go to a team that's going to scrap their offense and mold it around him. So I'm with you that it's not necessarily – I wouldn't love to pin my hopes on a guy like that, but we've seen quarterbacks with those tools and, go back to Josh Allen, that sort of thing, develop and start to change once they get better coaching at the NFL level.
Real quick, Mike, I know we've asked you this in the past, but this year I'm actually watching with my wife The Bachelorette, and I think Cakes watches it. I don't really have that much knowledge with it, but you were on it a couple of years ago. And when I watch this with my wife, I just wonder, those conversations when they get all the bros kind of sitting around the couch and then they're commenting on the other guys, how set up is that? It seems very fake.
It's about I don't think they showed anything that wasn't set up, that you weren't told to talk about or even prompted. They'll put you all on the couch and then they'll ask you questions. Right. And then they'll act as if our answers to those questions are just normal conversation that's going on in the house. Just 10 guys sitting on one couch hanging out. That's not how it went down.
Yeah, I tell my wife, there's no way these guys are just sitting around a couch and then they're talking about, man, I wonder what Mike did last night. Do you think he gave her a kiss or whatever? There's just no way.
No, yeah, that was very prompted, I'll say.